5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hello, everybody. It is the Ramble, and this Ramble goes on until midnight Eastern Daylight Time. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. Well, let's go check in with a special guest. All right, it's that time when we check in with an old friend, and we have to call him because he always starts off with something kind of interesting. Well, listen. We'll see here. Here we go. Okay. Come on. There we go. It's going to start ringing. Well, finally. Listen.
You've reached the David Duke hotline. If you hate Jews, press 1. If you hate blacks, press 2. If you hate Mexicans, press 3. If you hate Puerto Ricans, press 4. If you hate Asians, press 5. And if you think Indonesians are training elephants to attack you at night, ram the phone over your head and scream like a chicken. Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the wonderful, the attractive, the...
Thank you. I just had my surgical dimples put in. I look beautiful. Somebody put it on my forehead.
He now lives in the wonderful city of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas, so it's going to be 107 today. Look
Well,
out,
the only way you can win in that town is when you get off the plane, walk into the propeller. Thank you very much.
Right. It's so hot here, guys are paying hookers to blow on their hands. But I got to tell you.
How hot is it?
It's so hot. I can't think of one right now. It's so dark. Let's pretend we had a blackout. It's so dark, the speak walkers are wearing curb feelers.
Didn't I used to do a bit where I would ask people, I would throw out, like, my wife's so fat. And then
my wife is so fat. When my wife, I don't know, Governor Christie, you said, when did you get food during the, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, no, when
Too early.
Well, I remember when she sits around the house, she sits around the house.
She sits around the house, ladies and gentlemen.
My wife
is so fat when they cremate her, it'll take 6 guys to carry the urn. Hello?
My wife's so fat that when she stands on a mailbox in a red, white, and blue dress, people try to stuff mail in her mouth.
Are you kidding? My wife is so fat when she dances, the band skips. Now they're coming to me. It takes a little longer to get over.
Well, here was my ultimate. This is my joke killer, okay? My wife is so fat. Now, you're supposed to say, how fat is she?
How fat is she?
She's so fat that her doctor said if she doesn't lose weight, she may die.
Whoa! Well, that's the best one I've heard so far. My wife's so fat, she is dead. Oh, Lord. Oh, what have we sunk to? Look at us.
Fat jokes.
I know, fat jokes.
Of course,
she had more chins than a Chinese phone book, but I got to tell you.
But do you remember when fat jokes were, in fact...
oh, sure.
Okay.
That's when it was okay to drive home drunk, and the cops would say, he's just drunk again.
And you can't even do wife jokes anymore.
Yeah, no, you can't. Lady driver jokes. I think they're making a comeback.
Yeah, right.
The Jack Carter Big Book of 1001 Lady Driver Jokes, with an introduction by Roy Cohn.
Well, no, lady driver jokes are permissible now in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yeah, that they can have. She said she just turned 30. I said it must have been a U-turn. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, anyway, those are the golden jokes of our past.
These are the wonderful jokes that kept me out of the big time in the 1980s, folks. Hope you enjoy them as much as I enjoy telling them to you.
Do you ever tell literally jokes? Because I I may have a joke that somebody told me, and then I can repeat it, and then after a while I forget it. I mean, if you ask me right now, tell me a joke, I couldn't tell you a joke.
I know. You can think of a million of them when nobody asks you. When somebody asks, like looking for a cop. When you're looking for a cop, you can't find one. So,
no, but I never think in terms of jokes. I think in terms of lines, and I think you're the same way. I mean, I don't think you don't say, what comedian used to tell jokes? Who was
Bob
that?
Hope would tell jokes.
No, that Jewish comedian, not Shecky Green, but the Jewish comedian that he used to always tell stories. Because he started out in the business by being a salesman, and he would.
Myron Cohen, he was great.
Cohen. Yeah, and he would have to tell stories to people, and so that's what his whole act was telling stories.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. A guy comes to the lake every day for 20 years. 9 o'clock sharp. He's never a minute late. 9 o'clock, 20 years. One day after 20 years, he shows up at 10 o'clock. He's all beat up. He's on crutches. He's in a cast. He's got bandages on him, his nose is broken, his eyes are black. The boss goes, "You're an hour late." He goes, "An hour late. I went to take the elevator in my building, and the elevator wasn't there. I fell down 17 stories. Ay, vey." And the boss goes, "That took an hour."
Is that a Myron? Is that a Myron Cohen story?
That is a Myron Cohen joke. Maybe he took it from someone else in 1940. I don't know, but I heard him tell it, and I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that one. He told good stories.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Yeah. What took you so long?
Well, he's dead, then I can use it. What the hell? Who's going to complain?
Yeah, but he started out by telling literal stories. And
yeah, I think he's a fabric salesman or something, and he shows samples and he tells stories and with them over.
I'll tell you, though, the best joke mode that I remember, I learned from Penn Jillette. And that's the very involved storytelling joke. A good example would be the Aristocrats joke.
Yeah, sure.
Which everybody knows because of the Aristocrats movie.
Yeah.
But you could take that joke, drag it out. I mean, Penn would tell a joke. There was a joke we called the bear joke. And he would take 10 minutes to tell the bear joke. He would embellish on it. Do you know the bear joke?
I have no idea what the bear joke is.
I'm going to do the shortened version of the bear joke.
So the AM version of the Reader's Digest version of the bear
Reader's
joke.
Digest version of the bear joke, because he turned it into a drama, into an acting tour de force. But this guy is out hunting in the woods, and he's got his shotgun with him, and all of a sudden, out in the opening is a bear. So he pulls the gun up to his eye, and he aims, and he fires, and he misses. And the bear comes charging over to him, grabs the gun, throws it to the ground, and says, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "Well, because I'm out bear hunting." He said, "I'm a bear. I like my life here in the woods. I like the life that I lead." He said, "You know what? I'm going to let you go. But first of all, I'm going to teach you a lesson." And he immediately turns the guy around, pulls down his pants, and starts fucking him in the ass with his big, greasy bear dick. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he pounds him like a motherfucker. I mean, he's just going at him. And when he's through, the guy is even bleeding a little bit from his ass. That's how bad it was. And the bear says, "Never do that again." At which point the bear turns around and starts walking away, and the guy sees the shotgun lying on the ground, and he says, "I can't miss a second time."
Yeah.
So the bear, he picks up the shotgun, puts it up to his eye, aims it at the bear. Boom! He shoots the shotgun. The bear, he misses. The bear turns around, walks over to him, and says, grabs the shotgun, throws it on the ground, says, "You know something? You really didn't learn your lesson. So I'm really going to have to teach it to you now." turn around and bend over. And the guy reluctantly turns around, bends over, and now the bear gives him the big, greasy bear dick one more time. But, I mean,
Yikes.
This time it is brutal. And now blood is gushing from the guy's ass. That's how brutal this fucking was. And then he stops, and the bear says, now let that be a lesson to you. And the guy goes, okay, and he's lying on the ground. His ass is bleeding. He's in dire pain. The bear turns around, walks away. The guy sees the shotgun on the ground. He says, I can't miss a third time. I mean, that would be impossible if I missed a third time. So he grabs the shotgun. He does everything he can to get himself up on his feet. He takes the shotgun. He points it at the bear. Boom! He misses the bear. The bear turns around, walks over, grabs the guy, looks him straight in the face and says, somehow I don't think you came here to hunt.
Yeah, I wish to God that was the Ted Nugent story.
Now that is the short version, okay? When Penn tells it, it's an opus, okay?
Yeah, like I imagine all the detail he put into it.
Yeah,
exactly. That was the short version.
Yep. And the Aristocrats was another one of those jokes that you could either tell very quickly.
Oh yeah,
or
you can go on forever, or you can go on any. There's no time limit on it.
And they made the movie out of it because what they did is they got all these comedians who had heard the Aristocrats joke, which you've heard and I've heard and everybody's heard, and was running around show business for years and years and years. And everybody in that picture told their own version of the story. And some of them were long and some of them were short, but they all had a different spin. And the great thing about that joke was you could put yourself into it. You could put the spin into it.
Exactly. Your version here. But I like Chuck McCann's joke in the movie, which was my favorite because instead of the Aristocrats, he said, we're called the Sophisticates. I thought that was a better punchline.
Well, that was the alternate on it.
Yeah.
The original time, when I first heard it, I believe I heard it as the Sophisticates. In case people don't know the joke,
that way,
this guy goes into an agent and he says, and he's got his whole family with him. He says, I got the world's greatest act. He says, well, what's the act? And the guy says, well, first I come out, and then my mother comes out, and I fuck her. Okay, and then my brother comes out and he blows me. And then my sister comes out, spreads her legs, and we all take turns fucking her. And then we fuck my mother. Okay, and this goes on and on and on. I could embellish a joke.
Then my uncle sits on the stage and we all eat it and we rub it on each other and it's on each other. And then we each fuck each other and I lick my grandfather's shitty asshole. And blah, blah, blah.
And then he says, my God, that's the most amazing act in the world. What do you call yourselves? He says, we call ourselves the Sophisticates.
I know.
Or the Aristocrats, whatever you want. Whichever.
Yeah, everyone has their favorite. I like the Sophisticates.
Yeah. So, so that's another story that people, tell. And they embellish upon, and they embellish upon it on and on and on and on. So.
Yeah, it goes on forever and until you want it to stop.
Do you remember the first joke you ever learned? Because I do.
I remember the first joke I ever told, and I think it won $5 on the Herb Sheldon show because my mother sent it in.
Who's the Herb Sheldon show?
Herb Sheldon was a guy he had a kiddie show on for a little while in the 50s or something, the late 50s, and I think he died in 1964. He had a bad ticker, but he was one of those guys you see on TV. He was a pitcher, and then you see him on a kiddie show, then you see him on this or that. So he came and went. But he had a show. He'd come out in a straw hat and a cane like some old billion, and kids would send in jokes, and the best one would win $5. And I told it. And that was it. So I won. So I wrote my first joke when I was about 4, actually.
What was it? Can you remember?
It was horrendous. For a 4-year-old kid, it was pretty good. It was Halloween was coming. I guess it was 1959 or something. And my mother said, "Do you want to go out in a costume for Halloween?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to be a witch." And my mom said, "You want to be a man-witch or a lady-witch?" So I said, "I want to be a sandwich." And she thought it was all funny, and she sent it into Herb Sheldon, and I remember him reading it on the air, and it won the $5 prize, which I never got because they put it in for my fucking college fund.
That's not a bad joke.
For a 4-year-old in the Eisenhower era, yeah. Whatever.
You see, I never wrote jokes, but my father liked to. I was kind of a party favor, and my father would teach me jokes to tell company, but they were never nice jokes. Okay.
Oh, naughty jokes. I'm a little kid telling naughty jokes.
So here's the first joke he ever taught me, and I knew how to tell the story. And then when I would tell it, everybody would laugh, but I didn't get why they were. I didn't get why they were laughing. But I would tell the story on cue, and my father said, "Go tell them the joke, kid." And the joke was this: a princess is walking through the forest when she happens upon a frog, and the frog says to her, "Hi, princess, listen, if you take me and you put me under your pillow tonight, I will turn into a handsome prince in the morning." And she says, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, really. I'm an enchanted prince, but they made me into a frog, but if someone will put me under their pillow overnight, I will be a handsome prince." So she figures, what the hell? So she takes the prince home, or the frog home, puts the frog under her pillow. Sure enough, next morning she wakes up, and there's a really handsome prince lying next to her. And do you know, to this day, her father doesn't believe the story? Now
that's a good one. And you had no idea what you were saying.
That was the first joke I ever learned.
An oldie but a goodie.
And I had no idea what it meant.
And everyone's laughing, and you go, "Well, I must have done good, even though I don't know what I did."
Yeah, they would be laughing their heads off because this little kid was telling this story. And I think he had a few more jokes he taught me, but that I would say in private company.
That's pretty good. I was writing early. I had a letter published in Mad Magazine in 1971, in fact. So
did you really?
I was always at it in one form or another.
Did you really?
Yep. I wrote it in the summer of 1970, and it came out, I think, in the January 71 issue with Alfred E. Newman as George Patton on the cover.
Yeah, and what was
Stephen Pearl, if you live in Long Island. Whoa, look at that! Remember, I was a star in Long Island for like a month.
I mean, what was it about?
Well, they had a little article called "The Mad Love Book." Like, don't you love finding change in a jacket, and don't you love this and that, and I read in the masthead of the magazine, it said Mad is published every month of the year except February, March, May, and November. So I wrote, "Don't you just love February, May, March, and November, because those are the months Mad isn't published." And I knew then it was going to be published, and they published it sure enough.
Wow.
And I have a picture of it I can send you if you want. If anyone doesn't believe me, Nina found me that Mad magazine for my birthday a few years ago, and I took a picture of the letter and I put it on Facebook.
Wow.
And I was 14 when I wrote it.
Well, you see, I mean, now, so you were really writing jokes before you were telling them.
Yeah, exactly. I had no idea I was ever going to be a comedian. I loved comedy. I loved comedians back then, but I was into it, not knowing it back then.
So how did you discover you were a comedian? I mean, at what point did you suddenly say?
I was a kid. I always loved cartoons and humor, and watching the Three Stooges and Laurel and Hardy. I always, through my whole life, I loved music and humor. That got me through. So I'm a horrible musician, and I figured, well, I could tell jokes pretty well, so I became a comedian. But before that, I was always music and humor in my life. So I figured I would go down the path of one or the other of them, if not both.
So how did you start as a comedian? Was there an open mic and you decided you would try it?
Before I graduated the School of Visual Arts in May of '77, back when Elvis was alive and Son of Sam was on the loose, they had a talent show, and I signed up for it. And I said, I don't think I just put a little 5-minute act together. I made little props, and it was on local commercials and shit. And I did it. The room was full, and it was a Friday night, and I totally kicked ass. I was getting applause breaks and everything. And whoa, this is cool. I'm going to do this all the time. So I go, I'm going to be a star in no time. And then I started hitting clubs in New York, and of course it was like hit or miss. I'd either kill or I'd bomb real bad. So, but I knew if I didn't kill the first time, I never would have done it again because I'm a quitter. I'm a wuss. But I killed the first time, and I knew I could do it again, so I kept going up. And before I knew it, I was in too deep to get out. So here I am today.
Yeah. Once you get up like once, you've got something. It's twice.
Exactly. Get it.
Twice you've created some more material. Before you know it, you've got an act.
There you go. And I remember rehearsing. I went on a comic strip like a week after I did the School of Visual Arts thing. I really bombed. I ended up going out at 3 in the morning, which might have something to do with it. But well, this actor's going to kill. And I put down together what I thought was 5 minutes, and I read it out loud. It turned out to be like 17, and I had to really trim it down because you only allow like 3 minutes up there when you open mic in the 70s. So I did whatever, and they just stared at me. And I went home with my tail between my legs, but then I went to the Improv the week after, and I killed. So, not bad for like a 21-year-old kid who's just starting out. So I just said, well, I like this. I think I'm going to go this path. I don't know where it's going to lead, but I'm enjoying it.
Did you, the first time you did comedy, stand-up comedy, and you made people laugh, was that intoxicating?
Incredible. It was better than coming. It was better than sex. It was amazing. I never had a feeling like that. Because I was always an attention whore. That's why I got into cartooning and comics. I wanted to want to be a cartoonist and get my humor across that way. And then I just go, well, wow, now I can get an immediate reaction with a room full of people and maybe even get laid out of it a couple of times. So, yeah, I liked it better than drawing, so I just stayed on that path.
Yeah.
And then I met you in San Francisco, and the rest is history, my friend.
But, I mean, the only time, I was never a stand-up, as you know. The idea of being a stand-up frightened the shit out of me. I just never knew how you guys, because you know what it is? A comedy, standing up on a stage, is like instant rejection.
Exactly.
And I don't take rejection well.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was like instant, it's instant rejection right there. And
nobody takes it well.
I found it difficult to do, but the one time that I kind of started having an act was we were doing these things called not Comedy Tonight, but the other thing, One Night Stand, HBO's One Night Stand.
Oh yeah.
And besides being the announcer on those shows, I did the warm up.
Uh-huh.
And when you come out and you warm up the audience, you're teaching them how to applaud and laugh and do all those things. And you're also doing it so that you can get some applause tracks for the production, so that if later on there's a problem and they need to cover it up, they can throw the applause in, whatever. So I go up the first night and I do something, okay? And I get a couple of laughs. So I had to do this twice a night for 5 nights straight. By the end of the week, I had an act.
There you go.
By the end of the week, I knew what would work, what wouldn't work, and I was doing 15 minutes up there.
Wow, before you know it, yeah.
Now,
there you go.
Now, the reason to this day I hate fucking Bill Maher, as everybody in Hollywood does, actually.
Yeah.
Because he was doing one of these one-night stands, and he calls me. They said Bill Maher wants to see you in his dressing room. Where was Bill Maher? He's one of the people doing these one-night stands. We did 2 of them a night.
Yeah.
And I go into his dressing room, and he says, "You're doing the opening. You're doing the warm-up." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you do any political jokes?" And I said, "Well, I do a few things like how many here hate Nixon or whatever." I can't remember who was president at the time. Yeah. And then they will all boo. And then I say, how many like so-and-so, and they will all applaud and so on. He said, "Don't do political." I said, "Why?" He said, "I do political."
Whoa.
I said, "Look, I'm just a fucking radio announcer, okay, who's been hired to do the warm-up here. This is not my special." I said, I'm getting like $100 a night or something like that to do it. I said, I said, I'm not competition for you in any way, shape, or form. But I do the political because it gets a response from the audience. And he says, well, just don't do it because I do political. I said, I understand you're making $20,000 for this gig.
Oh.
He said, yeah. I said, follow me. And I walked out. I mean,
I've known nicer people.
The temerity of this guy. I mean, to say to me, don't do political because I do political. Good. I'm glad
insecure, my God.
I'm glad you do political, you little motherfucker. You know.
Yeah.
Now follow me. You're the professional. You're the one who's making the money.
Little trick. A real professional can follow anyone, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we've run out of time.
Already? My God, you're blinking us over. Jesus.
While we're having fun like this. Do it again in a couple.
Wacky Fizzy's party. I had a good time.
Do it again in a couple of weeks, right?
You got it, my friend. 2 weeks from today, whatever's good for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fantastic Stephen Pearl.
Thank you. My wife is so fat that tune in for next week for the punchline.
5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
And that was Stephen Pearl, and we thank him for having joined us this evening for a little tete-a-tete, as it were. It is now time for you to call our fine program. Let me give myself a little more volume here so that I can, I can hear what I'm saying. And the line, I will now open the lines. Here we go. Okay, the line's open. All right. So it's time now. What happens is, in case you're not used to this, look at my pants. You know, I wear these things every night. It's like I wear my pajamas to do the show. They're not really pajamas. They're lounging pants. I'm an old guy. Look at this. Look at this. I'm an old guy. That's what old farts wear. I wondered when in your life you would come up with a style choice that was like these guys that wear like plaid pants. Well, pants like this. I mean, I would never wear these out, but they wear pants that are like this, okay? And they're plaid. And what morning do they wake up and suddenly say, "This is a good style choice. I think I'll do this"? Who knows? Anyway. Feeling a little better today. Still a little lightheaded, but not like before. I took some vitamin D today. I think that may have done it. Okay. Am I going out of frame here? I'll have to slouch. Oh boy. Anyway, our number, in case you don't know, go over to gabnet.net. You won't miss the show. It's on there. Okay. And there's a phone number if you want to call just using a phone. And if you want to call us on Skype, all the stuff you need to know about getting Skype and using Skype and all that is right there, including a button you can push that will actually dial us here at the program. Okay, so that's your choice as well. But if you already have Skype and you just want to know what our ID is, it's gabnet.net. And what we do is, it's not like you call the program like you do with some talk shows, and then you wait for an hour to talk to the host because he's already talking to other people, okay? So, all you do is you just call me, and we answer the phone, and then when another person calls, we add them to the group, and then we add another one to the group, and eventually we have what we call a citizen panel. But as of late, we haven't had as many people calling us, but I noticed is somebody trying to call? No, nobody's trying to call yet. But I do know that Charles Wallace is online, and there he is. I knew it. Hello, Charlie. How are you?
Hello, Charlie. How are you?
Hey, Alex.
There we go. Let me see here. And we already have a slot for him, so we'll just see. There he is. He just comes right up.
Yep, number 2 forever.
You'll be number 2 forever. Right, right. And then if Phil calls, I think he was in the number 1 slot, wasn't he, last night?
Last night. Yeah.
Yeah, well, here comes Josh Wheeler. So I have to put Josh in a thing here. Hold on a second. Josh, is Josh there? And here comes Phil. Let me see here. Let me get Josh. Hold on, Josh, while I find a place for you here. Josh Wheeler, there we go. Okay. He's in that spot. He's in the number 3
There's Phil.
spot. There's Phil. Okay. We're off to a citizen panel here. Okay. Hello to all of you this evening. How are you?
Hey.
What?
Doing great.
Yeah. You're wearing the old man's pants too, right?
Absolutely.
You know, I just want to know when these guys, you know how these guys wear the plaid pants down in Florida?
Yeah, with the white patent leather belt.
Yeah. What morning do you wake up and make that style choice? You know?
Yeah, it's a generational thing. You know, people went from that to the Tony Soprano look, and now I wonder. There's also the shorts, with the long socks. They wear the white socks up over the knee.
Oh, over the knee? Really?
Well, not the knee, the calf. Over the calf.
Well,
Almost to the knee.
Yeah, and then they got those shorts. They're like Bermuda shorts. And
what's wrong with Bermuda shorts?
well, there's nothing wrong with Bermuda shorts if you're in Bermuda.
No, but I mean, what's wrong with Bermuda shorts, Phil?
I like Bermuda shorts, but not with socks that go up over your calf that are white with the white patent leather belt. And, what do they use for a shirt? Brown shoes and a white shirt. And remember the Brownie camera?
Brown shoes and blue shirt.
Yeah?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
No.
No. Well, I wear tennis shoes all the time. I call them tennis shoes. Who plays tennis in them anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not really tennis shoes. They're like running shoes.
They're running shoes. They're Nikes. I have Nikes. I don't
Yeah.
know why I have Nikes.
Are Nikes? Which ones are the politically incorrect one? Is it Nikes or Adidas or?
No, they're all politically correct. And Nike is considered a little politically incorrect because it's made by little Malaysian boys who are being paid a penny an hour. But, do I give a shit? The only thing I don't understand is if they're making them over in Malaysia and they're getting kids to make them for 5 cents an hour, how come they charge $150 here? I mean, what?
It's the tariffs.
Is it the tariffs?
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you think that they would say, hey, we make these things so cheaply, we may as well pass it along to the consumer. But no.
Yeah, no, it's the tariffs, so we can pay for all those social programs.
Yeah. So anyway, it's
like health care for the Malaysian boys.
health care for the Malaysian boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we should have health care for everybody. By the way, did you see Jon Stewart yesterday in front of that committee?
Yeah, I also saw the aftermath. I think there wasn't anybody in the room. Was he speaking to an empty room?
If you look, the whole bottom row of seats that should have been filled by congressmen wasn't filled. I mean, and he was reading him the riot act, saying, these people had time for you. You should have time for them. And I thought it was a very good speech, and didn't see any reason why he was doing it to advance himself.
No, he seemed very genuine.
Well, it's something that for the longest time he's had a passion about, and it was, and what happened as a result today, they passed it on to the Congress to pass it.
Yeah.
So
I guess the deal is underfunded. They had $7 billion. They're down. They used $5 billion so far, but now.
Well, no, it was coming up. It was coming up for renewal.
Yeah.
Okay, And they're going to renew it for another 70 years. Now, why 70 years? I have no idea. I think they feel that the family should get something.
Yeah.
Because of the loss of a loved one and so on.
Oh, it's not for medical and other.
Oh, it's for that too.
Issues.
It's for that too. It's a general fund for the needs of the people who were the first responders at 9/11.
Yeah.
And he shamed them into it. He literally shamed them into it, and good for him.
He
Now-
shamed into it the first time.
You were living pretty close to the 9/11 site, to the World Trade Center. When it went down. Did you smell the dust?
Oh yeah, I was really close to it. I was let's see here, 3,000 miles away in San Francisco, Phil.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yes.
2000
But oh boy, did I feel it.
Yeah.
No, I'll never forget that morning though.
My uncle lived on Houston Street when it happened.
I was working at CNET at that time.
Oh,
And I get a call from Shecky,
yeah.
who says, "Are you watching television right now?" And I
It was
said,
like at 5 in the morning that time.
"Well, no, it was about when
5:11
I
or
got the
something?
call. I got the call about 8 in the morning, so it had to
Because
be.
I saw it happen.
So it had to be about 10 o'clock New York time.
10
Okay.
New York time, but it was early. It was-
Anyway,
That was the
let's
second
not.
plane. Wasn't the first plane like at 8?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
it was
remember
5 in the
when,
morning.
but all I know is he
My
calls
time.
me up and he says, "Are you watching this?" I said, "What?" He said, "Turn on your TV set." And I turned it on and I said, "Is that the World Trade Center?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "It's on fire." He said, "No, it's not on fire." He said it's not on fire at all. He says that is a case of hold on a second, I got to get Charlene in the mix here. Oh, there she is. Okay, all right, and transition. There we go. He says to me, no, a plane hit it. I said, a plane hit it? Now, the last time a building in New York City was hit by a plane was years earlier. The Empire State Building, a private plane hit the
Yeah,
Empire State
little
Building.
private plane.
Yeah.
Were you glued to the TV at that point and then saw the next building get
No,
struck?
and then as I'm talking to him,
Yeah.
the other plane hits, and
Yeah.
I say to him, "Oh, this isn't an accident." Yeah, this isn't an accident. And he went, "No shit." Yes, Charlene.
But I had to call in, because last night you were getting upset that you said nobody, wants to call.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second reason is when Phil wants testimonials from people about 9/11. Because I was in Queens, I was in New York, but
Yeah.
not Manhattan.
Yeah.
And
That
not
doesn't count.
downtown and not close. But I just remember waking up, early in the morning and taking my son to school. And I dropped him off, came home, and the phones didn't work. Like that happened to everybody in New York because all the phone stuff was on in the World Trade Center.
You mean the
Like
cell
the,
phones or the landlines?
Any phones,
Really?
like they were all messed up and stuff. But somehow my friend Nancy that lived in, she was like in Queens too, Bushwick she lived, and she said to me, "Charlene, go get your son." So I said, "Okay." So I walked over to go get my son. After I dropped him off, I had to go back to pick him up. And I just remember everyone saying, "Oh my God, the Pentagon was hit."
Yeah.
And it was like a movie, one of those, science fiction movies about them blowing up the war, So I went and got my son, and I just remember them saying that, "Oh, I don't know your son" or something. I was like, "Oh my God, this is not a time to tell me you don't know him that well." And but she found my son, the woman, and she brought him down. I took him home, and you just said that about. I remember just watching it all on TV. Then the second one, got hit.
It was surreal.
It was surreal. And then
Yeah.
I remember that's all you did for 2 weeks or something, maybe. I don't know. It was just watch 9/11. It was like there wasn't much television. At least for a week, there was no regular programming and stuff. It was all. I mean, at least for 3 days, that's all they talked about was 9/11.
Yeah.
And the other thing I remember is going to the grocery store or something, walking. Tony would know that area of Queens. I'm walking to the grocery store, and there was a guy of like Middle Eastern background or something, like whatever those countries are, in the Middle East. And he was kind of like smiling with this smile, like he was like laughing or something, and it was like sick, like. So then the other thing I remember too is then after it was all over, the smell that came over the Hudson. There was this smell that I couldn't describe it. It was like, I guess, the smell of the buildings came down and all that stuff. You could smell it.
New Yorkers have been getting that from New Jersey for years.
Right. Well, not like a seacock smell, but But then I also had to go downtown, and I hope I probably inhaled a lot of dust and everything, right? I mean, they weren't saying don't go down. Well, we couldn't get down. I remember seeing as close as I could get. I took a picture of it. It was like one of those movies again. Like I saw all the iron and all that stuff. I had to go down on the train, and get out and go down and walk around down there. And I mean, I just like, that area down there, stock exchange area. It's very tight down there anyway. And I could just imagine very squeezing together. And, I could just imagine how frantic and what people must have been, it must have been crazy down there that day. But, that's my recollection. I'll never forget all that stuff, never. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I remember that incident with Shecky calling me, and then I immediately ran down to CNET saying, they probably need some kind of help, So I went before I was supposed to start, and went down and helped with the coverage of it. But that was quite it was something,
Yeah.
But it's strange, I get the feeling in New York that people have forgotten it. I really do get the feeling they've forgotten it.
Well, Alex,
except when they want to yell about Afghanis and things like that, but or use it in an argument. But otherwise, it created a paranoia for us in this country. That's for damn sure, that has lasted. But I don't. They put up the buildings. They put up the building again. It's all back. It's all not back the way it was. I mean, to begin with, we didn't build another building as ugly as those two buildings. I mean, they were pretty fucking ugly.
Right, I agree.
I remember.
I worked in the World Trade Center putting in carpet.
Yeah, well,
Nobody
I mean, they used to refer to those two buildings as the boxes the computers came in.
And nobody ever liked those buildings.
Oh, they hated it. They thought it was ugly, and it was. They were. The structures had no, nothing special about them.
Well, it was the way that they were built that they had so much room on the inside because of the way the steel beams were on the outside. But that's what melted and brought the building down. But it's also what gave it the tremendous amount of square footage on the inside that was unobstructed. We used to just spray the glue down and roll the carpet out as quickly as we could. And there weren't any poles. They didn't obstruct anything in the center for structural support. And that was a very unusual design.
Well, they say the structural support wasn't all that good. There are a lot of reasons why that structure came tumbling down.
It was built by low bid, and approved by mafia kickback.
You could be right about that.
Oh, I'm very right about that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think the Javits Center was like that too, mafia kickback.
You mean?
they
By the way,
yeah.
Phil, do you mean to say it's not Obama's fault?
That one. Yeah. What was he? 15 years old when they hit that? How old was Obama in 2001?
He's in his 50s.
No, he was in his 50s when he got elected.
No, he was in his 40s when he got elected, Phil.
40s. So, and that was in 2008. So, okay, so he would have been in his 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was his fault. It was a conspiracy.
Remember that happened.
But Alex, remember when you and Albert used to do those 9/11 shows, and you would say like I used to love that because I was kind of sick of it after a while. After like 4 or 5 years of it was kind of getting tiresome that we kept remembering, and you were very irreverent about all that, but I used to think it was funny.
Was I irreverent?
A little bit, yeah. You and Albert used to do
You're
those.
always irreverent. Hey, the reason that it struck all of us this way is this was the first major attack not by a homegrown terrorist. I mean, we've had they tried to the building.
Like
well, they
Pearl
tried to get it in
Harbor.
'93.
Like Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, they put a truck in the basement, and they blew that up.
That was
and
'93.
I think,
That was
yeah.
They did have an obsessive thing about that building. About those buildings, actually, but one of the buildings in particular.
Well, they wanted to hit the financial district, I think. They really wanted to.
Well, I think to them,
they wanted to expose vulnerability.
Well, to them, the World Trade Center represented Western imperialism of some sort.
Alex, when did they build the trades? Do anybody remember the years the trade center went up?
71, 72. Yeah. That's when we put the carpet in.
What's that early? Okay.
Yeah. Well,
and then when did
71? I was putting in carpet.
When did Philippe Petit tightrope across it?
I don't know.
Yeah, that movie was
I watched
great about that.
But they were building the trade center and putting on floors as we were installing. So, we were working our way up, and not all the floors had been completed.
Did you ever eat at Windows on the World, Alex? I always wondered if you ever ate up there.
No.
Because it overlooks all the 5 boroughs. I watched the documentary when the lights went out. They said when they were eating up there, they said you saw each region of the city go out quick. Queens, Brooklyn. I always wondered how it was.
Well, that was during a blackout. You mean?
The blackout, yeah. They showed Windows on the World.
Yeah. Yes.
I was in New York for the '65 blackout.
Charlene has her hand up.
That Philippe Petit movie was excellent because Phil's talking about like the way they were constructing. It showed you, like in the Philippe Petit movie, how they had no security back then. He got up there with the guys, and they strung that wire and everything. And they were for like weeks and stuff. They would go up there and hang out with the workmen and put helmets on and act like they were workmen. Everybody saw that movie. What was
Nobody asked them for a union card. I got thrown off that job once because I didn't have my card. And I was in the elevator. And a union rep carded me. I didn't have my card with me, and I had to leave.
They tossed him out.
Well, he got away with it. He was good, Philippe Petit. They went up there and they got away with it. They strung the wire and everything, and it was amazing how he got away with that. I don't think today, he would get away with that at all, right? I mean, there's so much security. We have to thank 9/11 for that. All this extra heavy security, not just guns going off in schools, but 9/11 too, right?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, when I heard the helicopter went in, I thought my mother was hearing things because she called me on my phone. I was like, holy shit. I thought of 9/11 right away. I said, oh, God.
Hey, did you hear what Cuomo said? He said all New Yorkers have PTSD. When they hear that any kind of aircraft has slammed into any kind of building in Manhattan, they think it's a terrorist attack.
De Blasio said it was the Republicans.
I remember being in the subway right after 9/11 that, wasn't it like a Dominican airline went down in Queens or something? And you got cell phones.
You got to hand
we thought it was terrorism.
You got to hand it to this guy the other day. By the way, I'm feeling lightheaded again tonight. What is this? Man. Maybe I'm just bored of doing this. I don't know. Anyway, because I've been feeling great all day, and then I come in here and it's hot as hell, and I turn on the air conditioner.
Like you say, maybe I tried to drink some water.
Where's the air conditioner?
Huh?
The 6,000 BTU. Where's the new air conditioner?
I didn't buy it yet.
What are you waiting for, the tariffs?
I don't know.
He's trying to.
When did it break? I didn't.
You got to get you on the stand-up ones.
Yeah. But,
when did it break, Alex?
And my chest is hurting because I'm sitting. Because of the way I'm sitting here.
It's the big one.
Huh?
It's the big one.
It's the big one.
It's agita. It's agita.
I think it is. I think it is. I think a lot of this is anxiety.
Yeah.
Because I've been feeling pretty good all day today. So who knows? Anyway, I'm tired now. But it's hot in here, and I'm trying to get, the
air conditioner. You got it on?
air conditioner working. I went and worked out today.
Yeah.
My heart didn't hurt then. My chest didn't hurt then. It would have from all that.
Yeah, you're fine. It's probably the heat, the humidity, and stuff.
Probably.
Either that or
it's all the lead and asbestos in your apartment.
That's probably it.
Well, Alex, I got to go for my drug test tomorrow for the city. Oh boy.
Oh really? Okay. Well, you better stop doing all those drugs you do, Tony.
I know. I didn't do anything.
Lay it off the aspirin, Tony.
If I take a Bayer, I'll probably run a red flag.
Lay off the baby aspirin.
Is that for the new job with your mother? Being her caretaker?
Yeah, they have to fingerprint me and everything tomorrow.
Wow. I miss
So
that
I'm actually a city worker. I'm going to tell the lady, does that mean I can sleep on the job since I'm a city worker?
I got away with because I'm her daughter. I don't have to go through all that. They said that if it was a stranger, they would have to do all that. But because it's my mother in New Jersey, they let me get away with being background checked and all that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because I think they said it's just protocol for the city. They were telling me and my brother that, so he's taking me down to Brooklyn. So
you two were both doing the same kind of job?
Yeah, I've been doing that in New
actually
Jersey.
has a real job for 311. He's just already a city worker. So he's just going to give me the lift to Brooklyn so he knows where it is.
Yeah, and I'm going down to get my thing as well so I can take care of Tony. So it's...
Yeah, I'm going to need that. Alex, I'd like a sandwich for lunch, please. Not too much mayonnaise. And take the crust off. That's what my mother would say. I'm going to kill this guy. I see Alex.
Hey, as long as you're getting paid for it, then it won't be bad, right?
I'm an Asian, Alex. I like tomato soup.
I can't believe that you want to do this.
I do.
Yeah?
I swear to God.
He wants to get away from boxing fucking hats for crying out loud, Phil.
Phil, I can't take it anymore. I can't. I'm literally... I'm ready to kiss. I'm actually, I told Jackie, I'm rehearsing my farewell speech. I don't want to laugh when I tell him I'm quitting. I can't wait. I'm telling you, I'm going to think I'm going to start laughing.
Tell him that you got some terminal disease and you only have 3 days to live, but you worked as long as you could. Make him feel guilty.
No, you feel that you feel a desperate need. You feel a desperate need to take care of your mother.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
She's all excited for me.
She's excited for you. Why?
Yeah.
Because
you know why? She has the lady we have now, the private lady. She doesn't speak good English. She's nice.
Neither do you.
I can't take her. But you know why? She doesn't make my lunch like you do. I said, well, Ma, what do you want? She's not Italian. She doesn't understand that, you know what? It's not the same thing. The nationalities are different.
So do you have to clock out when you walk your dogs? You can't be charging the city when you're doing your comics and the other stuff.
Well, you know what it is? I figure. But you know what I was going to tell you, Alex? I was in work today, just walking around, daydreaming as usual, and I saw those stupid hat boxes that I fold, and this big delivery in 3 weeks. I'm hoping I miss it. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't want to say these fucking things anymore. But I mean, I was like, I'm afraid when I tell them I'm leaving, I'm going to laugh because I'm so happy.
Keep this up, by the way, Tony, because the numbers are going up while you're telling us this absolutely boring story.
Tony, what happens if you tell them you're leaving and they say, great, don't let the door hit you in the ass?
Believe me, they're going to miss me, Phil. Believe me. I'm a good worker when I want to be. I hate, you know
never.
what? Which is never. But I'll tell you the truth, though. I'll be honest, Alex. I'm really looking forward to it because for one reason, I feel kind of that at least I know she'll be in good hands. Oh, God.
That's not the reason.
They're always on your phone tweeting somebody.
You want to stop folding those fucking boxes.
Oh, God. Alex, I can't take it. If I see... It's like a fucking robot. I can't take it anymore.
Well, if they were smart... If you were smart, you'd have them deliver a couple of cases of boxes to your house. You fold them, and then they, Uber them back, and you double dip.
Mm-hmm.
So, Yeah, my sister just called. My sister just called because she's a teacher. So she goes, she may be my timekeeper. They contacted her. She's, I think I'm going to be your timekeeper. I don't know. They're going to explain it to me. So I think when I call into work, I got to call her. And then she call. I don't know how it's going to work. I said, just do me a favor. Let's just get
What
this
is
done.
this discussion we're having here tonight?
I tell you, my first week, I told my mother already.
You wonder why the city doesn't have any money.
Shecky's gonna laugh when I visit him. I'm gonna tell him, I'm not lying about this either because I'm not joking. I told my mother, and I'm strict about it. I want to get her stimulated, so I want to read to her. She's like, "Oh, I don't want you to read to me." No, we're reading. Because when I watch,
she's going to read comics. You'll read
she
comics.
Wants to watch TV Land, Phil. I know every episode of Raymond. I could write the script.
What does she watch?
She watches Gunsmoke when I come home on TV Land for lunch.
Oh God, my
That's a
mother
great
watches
show.
Jeopardy.
It is, but Charlie, all day, every day, turn the channel.
By the way, can I say
I'm
this
gonna
is
read to you.
maybe
I want to read to her for an hour a day.
this may be of interest to you. God, I'm lightheaded tonight.
I
God,
actually got a
weird.
book out that I'm going to take from the library for her.
I've been fine all day. Okay.
It's me, Alex. I think I'm going to get to you.
It could be. I don't know. Maybe I went and had my vision checked, but maybe it's that I'm working too close to these computers.
Maybe the strain of the computer. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm sorry about that.
I have never seen an episode of Gunsmoke.
What?
She has probably seen every one. I'm telling you, I think she's in the fucking TV show.
I've never seen it.
I come
Wow.
home. And
I have seen
in it?
maybe 5 minutes of an episode or a clip of an episode, but I've never seen an entire episode of Gunsmoke.
Who's in it? Is it
She was telling-
Parness?
James
or,
Arness.
James Arness,
Arness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And who's Miss Kitty or whatever her name is?
Amanda
Love-
Blake. See, I know all this stuff,
Blake.
but I never watched the show.
We
Yeah.
She's
never.
like, oh, it's on
Or he
again.
doesn't
I
admit
know,
to
but
watching
same time,
the show.
It's like it's good to change the schedule. I said.
Yeah, Gunsmoke and Bonanza.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, but
I used
that's
to
maybe-
watch. I used
Here
to
we
watch.
go.
I used
said
to
Phil
watch.
West.
No, I used to watch Bonanza. That I can admit to. Okay.
Right.
Haas
Well, you know,
died a
she's-
couple of weeks before my father.
And you know what she's hooked on too? The Tony Shalhoub show, where he solves all the
Ah.
crimes.
My
No.
uncle used to like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, which
Here we
one is
go.
that? Is that in San Francisco? That one? Is that the guy?
Oh, he's always solving crimes.
I
He's
can't
like
remember
a
the name of that.
centric type person.
Yeah, he's got the guy's name is the title of the show.
Yeah.
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 She likes the mystery ones.
Mm.
I said, oh Lord. And then at dinner time, it's Andy Griffith. I like.
So you
that
just
show.
roll her in front of the TV and then you go play with your comic?
I watch Andy Griffith with her because I like. I
It's
like him on
funny
the show.
they refer to that as the golden days of television, and I want to know what's so fucking golden about it.
I like that show. Remember, I watched the one when Aunt B got hustled.
I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
What,
Sorry.
I
what
see this thing coming.
I didn't watch. I never watched. What's his name? Andy Griffith.
No.
Never watched that.
You never
show.
did? And you liked
I
it.
watched that as a kid.
Oh, she watches Matlock too, because that's another mystery thing.
Yeah. No,
So
I mean,
that one I haven't
I was not big into any of those shows. To tell you the truth.
Who was the big fat guy that was a detective?
Cannon.
Cannon.
Yeah, I used to.
Cannon, yeah.
I like.
Oh,
Cannon.
Phil, you and Blue Bloods. We got to watch that on Friday nights because
Yeah,
Tom
I
Selleck's
don't
in it.
watch that one. Is that with the guy who played in Hawaii?
Yeah,
with the
Tom
Ferrari?
Selleck. Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
sorry.
I'm beginning to
Selleck.
realize maybe
Oh,
what's wrong with Marjorie. She's getting old because she does nothing but watch television. She comes home and she puts on a show she can binge watch. And
you
then,
got me doing Lucifer. Jeez.
well, Lucifer is good.
My
Yes,
husband
good,
was
but I
like
can't
that.
quit watching.
You
See,
like it,
it's
huh?
good.
See? Which ones do you watch? Did you watch it from the very beginning?
Well, I watched it when it was on whatever CBS or Fox or whatever it was
Yeah.
on before, and then when it left, I quit watching. But now it's on Netflix, and you told me about that, so I'm watching the whole season 4 now.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hunting.
And they
around.
just
Is that-
they just okayed season 5, which will be its final season.
is Better Call Saul going to come back?
Of course.
Oh, when?
Supposed to, but yeah, that's what I say. When I love that show.
Just figure out when it came on last year, and it'll come on.
It's
about
been
the same
over a
time this
year.
Yeah, it's
year.
yeah, it's been a while.
Well, let's see here. Better Call Saul. Nah.
What's the deal with that show? It's about a lawyer or something like that.
Sort of, and you know what? And Kaminsky, they ought to be giving us another season of that.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, they're doing it. They're doing
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah. Better Call Saul season 4.
But how does it relate to Breaking Bad?
It was one of the characters, and they
But
developed
it has
it.
nothing to do
Yeah,
with
he was his what's his name's lawyer
Yeah.
in Breaking Bad,
But it's like after Breaking Bad, it's about. the
and
lawyer,
this is
what
like
he
a
does or
prequel.
something.
This is
A
this is
prequel.
where Saul
And-
came from.
And I watched Better Call Saul before I watched Breaking Bad, and Breaking Bad was great, you know. But
Yeah.
I don't think that one's coming back.
What's Breaking Bad?
Yeah, that was great.
No, they
you know.
finished it. That was through.
Yeah,
But
that
Better
one's
Call
not coming
Saul
back.
is the sequel.
Yeah, there's like certain shows that are like epic things. Like Breaking Bad was like really, really, really good.
By the
Like,
way,
I see that.
it won't come back till 2020.
Really?
Yeah,
Jeez.
Huh.
yeah.
Are they waiting for Trump to get
It's
reelected?
been delayed until 2020. It says driven by talent needs, which would not override if it were resulting in a worse show. Blah 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 blah. Quizzed about further about the. Yeah, it's 2020.
Wow,
So
that's a long wait. You know,
yeah, that
you-
is a long wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're filming. Supposedly, they're filming Kaminsky Method right now. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And is there going to be another Maisel?
Oh yeah.
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 Mrs.
They're
Maisel.
filming that right now too.
Yeah.
So.
What about The Handmaid's Tale? Is that over?
Oh, it's on for its third season. I can't stand
Yeah,
it.
it's on now.
I let girlfriend watch that piece of shit. Oh look.
Is there anything else running around that's worth watching?
My two favorite shows so far this year are Fosse Verdon and Chernobyl.
Huh?
Yeah, I saw
Where-
some of
where are
Mrs.
they?
Bird.
Huh?
What's what network?
Chernobyl is on is HBO,
Oh,
and Fosse
Fosse
Verdon
Verdon,
is on
FX.
FX.
okay.
I think that Sam Rockwell is really good.
Oh, he was terrific. So
and
is
who
she,
does Gwen Verdon? She's really good as
Michelle
Gwen Verdon.
Williams. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's
I-
really terrific too. Yeah. What?
You know, I go to Netflix and there isn't a movie I haven't seen. You know, you flip through.
Well, you know the trouble. The trouble I have with Netflix. You go to Netflix and you say, "What shall I watch?" And it is this grid, and
Yeah.
it makes no sense at all. And I can't find anything. You know, I mean, and sometimes, like when they did Lucifer, if you went looking for Lucifer, you had to go looking for Lucifer. You couldn't
Yeah.
just find it. Am I right, Charlie?
Yeah. Once you start watching it, though, it comes up right away on my screen now because I've
But
been
to
watching.
originally find it, it's a bitch, right?
Yeah.
You got to hunt for it.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think Netflix is badly laid out,
Yeah.
and then you go over to Amazon, and they've got a couple of really good shows that are Amazon originals, but the rest of the stuff is like old Jerry Lewis shows, and
Yeah.
a lot of crap there
Yeah.
on Amazon.
Yeah. What else is out there? I mean, you know, I've seen everything. That's why I think that maybe I'll pick up HBO for a while and get a taste of something new.
Well, I watched Good Omens on Amazon.
Yeah.
It was marginally okay. It wasn't great, you know. I'm trying to get through a show on what is it? What's the other one? Damn it! I'm so out of it tonight. I can't remember
Yeah.
anything.
It's probably hot.
It's getting cooler finally.
Oh, yeah.
111 here.
Let's see.
111?
Yeah.
Not enough.
Let's see here. You got HBO. You got the Showtime. Then you've got the other one. What's the other one? Stars. Has a thing I've been watching called American Gods, which is kind of interesting, you know. But I don't know. I'm just tired of watching television.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I look at something and I go, oh, this episode's an hour, and I go, I don't know if I have time. You know what I watched? And I told you this last night. I was watching it and I finished it. I watched all of Cleopatra, the 1950, 60.
4-hour, 9-minute movie.
What was it? 62 maybe?
Elizabeth Taylor, Cleopatra.
Yeah. Which in its time, of course, was vilified for being just terrible. But I went back and I watched it, and it's not really that terrible. You know, it was okay. You know,
Stood the test of time.
No, it didn't stand the test of time. That's not the best way to put it.
It's not relevant. You mean?
Huh? Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Hi, Alex. How are you?
No, it is a much better film than people said it was when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really trashed it.
Well, it was. As I noticed it, well directed. Screenplay was not embarrassing.
Who directed it, Alex? Who directed it?
Mankiewicz, Joseph
right.
Mankiewicz. Yeah. It was not. It was Elizabeth Taylor did a good job. Richard Burton overacted as usual. Rex Harrison was wonderful in it. And I watched the whole thing and I went, you know, it wasn't a great film. It wasn't the masterpiece they wanted it to be, but it was okay. And it might have even been better if Mankiewicz had been able to do what he wanted to do with that film, which was release it as 2 3-hour films, one called Caesar and Cleopatra and one called Antony and Cleopatra. And then he could have done a 6-hour version of this film and gotten all the stuff in he felt was good, but he had to compromise and take stuff out, and eventually it came out to 4 hours and 4 minutes, and that was the roadshow length. And then when they went to like the normal movie theaters, it came to they cut it down to 3 hours and 15 minutes.
In '62, when I used to go to the movies, I think they were 50 cents. You know, was this long movie a 50-cent movie,
No,
or did they get a premium for it?
No, they got a premium for it.
Yeah.
In its roadshow engagements. Once it got to the smaller theaters, it probably wasn't 50 cents, but I'm sure it was much cheaper. But by the time it got, by the time you got to the smaller theaters, you also got shitty prints. Because by then they've been so hacked up by being shown and bicycled through all the theaters, that by the time you saw it in its local engagement at your local theater, they were hacked up prints.
Yeah.
I remember those days. You got the streak lines up and down the screen.
Well, it was always usually during about the first 30 seconds of each reel.
Yeah.
And then it cleared up, because by then you gotten past the part where people had their hands all over it and it got scratched up. But, those prints didn't last that long.
People were scraping the silver off so that they could
there wasn't,
turn it in.
There wasn't silver in those days, Phil. That's way early as silver. What they did, there's a very interesting film that I have. What they did is they used to cycle these films around, okay? And the last place they would wind up is Dawson in Alaska.
Huh.
Wow.
And when they got them there, the company said, "Don't send them back. We don't want to pay the expense of having you send the films back. So when you're through with them, you keep them or do whatever you're gonna do with them." So they took them and they built a big ditch, and they buried them all.
Oh.
And recently they found all these films.
That sounds like that Star Wars movie they made.
Yeah.
They buried something with Star Wars like that. They were trying to find it in the
When
desert.
did they come out with the Kodak Tri-Pack? that turned all the colors, the reds into purple and things like that.
There were too many kinds of color.
Yeah.
Technicolor never faded.
Right.
The reason
you told Becky Sharp.
Well, the reason it never faded, the prints would fade, but there was each film, Technicolor film, had 3 negatives. All of them were in black and white, representing one part of the color spectrum: cyan, magenta, and what was the other
forget.
one? The cyan, magenta, and yellow. Okay. And so what would happen is black and white never faded. And so when you wanted to make a print again, you would just take the 3 negatives, put them together. They were called interpositives, and you would make them into a beautiful print. That's why Technicolor lasted so long. Why you could take a Technicolor print today and strike it, and it's just gorgeous. Okay. The other ones all didn't do interpositive negatives, and so they started to fade, and they would turn yellow, and they would turn blue, I think it was Spielberg who complained that
Jaws,
the water was green by the time a few years had passed.
Yeah.
Luckily,
you had mentioned something about the blood, it wasn't red anymore.
It was purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what happened was Spielberg and Lucas, especially with Star Wars, they did, for instance, Star Wars was done in color by deluxe, okay? But what he did was he made those black and white interpositive negatives so they could last for a while, and so that they could reestablish it later on, and that's why Star Wars looks so great today. The other reason why a lot of these pictures look better today now than they did was because with digitizing and so on, they can restore the color using digitally. So they're able to do that. Let me see here. Where's Darth Pat? There we go. Here we go. And there's Patrick. Let me put him over there. Okay. There we go. Hi, Patrick.
Hi.
Yeah. So that's why Star Wars today still looks good. But if they hadn't done anything to save that picture beforehand, if Lucas hadn't done anything to make interpositive negatives, it would be in a lot of trouble today, So, but they're doing a lot of restoration using digital processing and so on. So even the worst old films look better now than they did. So.
Yeah. I hadn't seen To Kill a Mockingbird since I was a kid, and when I was that young, I didn't really get it, and I didn't read the book. So, but you say that it's a movie that you enjoyed now, and all these years later.
I watched it twice this weekend. And I didn't like it when I saw it the first time because everybody over the years are going, oh, it's the greatest movie ever made. You got to see this picture. Oh, it's great. It's wonderful. Blah, 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 blah. And I went, who needs it? So when I finally saw it, I said, I had my arms folded and said, okay, show me. And I didn't see what was good about it. Then I went back and watched it the other night, having already gone through that experience. And after it was over, I said, this is probably one of the greatest films ever made. It's that great a film. To watch it. It's that good a movie, and so it really, it was amazing to me how good it was. Oh. Yes, Charlie.
Oh, thanks for all that comparison that you did between the play, because now I know I would never want to see that play, but Alex. The one thing I always remember from reading the novel and from the movie too is that thing, chifforobe. I never heard of that before.
I don't know what that is. To this day, I don't know what a chifforobe is.
It's like a dresser, I think.
Oh, my mother has the chifforobe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
she has it in the front wall. She always just put my clothes. She has a chifforobe. It's like a tray. It opens up.
Like a dresser. But Alex, what is that line about?
It's old.
It's an armoire.
what is that line about never
That's
killing the
tigers in it.
Wait a
mockingbird?
minute, hold on a second. Let me listen to Charlene. What,
I'm
Charlene?
sorry.
What is that line about never killing the mockingbird? What does that have to do with that woman accusing the black man of the rape and
It
all
has
that?
nothing to
Because
do with that. It has
No.
to do with the fact that, at least in the movie, he's at the dinner table and he's talking to the kids, and his son says, "Why can't I have a gun?" And he said, "Well, I had a gun when I was a kid, but when my father gave me the gun, he said, I'm going to tell you something." He said, "If you want to go out and shoot sparrows, because the first thing you're going to want to do with this gun is shoot birds. You can shoot sparrows, but to kill a mockingbird is a sin, because they only give pleasure to the world."
I haven't seen
And
that
that's
movie
where
in
the "to
years.
kill a mockingbird" comes from. And in the play, rather than at the dinner table, he uses it as part of his summation speech in the trial, and it just doesn't work there.
No, but
It's
I
like
mean,
they tried to shoehorn the title in.
is there a correlation between that trial that Atticus is, defending that man, and that line about the mockingbird? Because I haven't seen
No,
that movie.
it has
in
nothing to
years.
do with the trial. Except in the play, it does, but in the movie, it doesn't. And at the end, it resolves itself as well, because there's a question of whether they should arrest somebody or say that somebody murdered somebody. I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't seen the film. And it's a recall that you don't kill a mockingbird. You don't kill somebody or something that is
Probably
worth
if I
it.
watch it again,
Yeah.
I might get it more. But I haven't seen that movie in years.
But anyway, I walked away saying, why did they do the movie? What was the reason? The play, rather. Because the movie's the definitive statement. I mean, the book I hear is very good, and I haven't read it. But the movie is the definitive.
Well, you said the play was the top grossing. Did it gross more than Cats?
Oh,
I think Cats ran.
That's a
longest.
musical to begin with, and we're talking musicals. We're talking plays, and yes, it has grossed more than any other play in the history
Maybe because of the height. Maybe the height, Alex. Right?
Well, also, I mean, tickets today. In the old days, if you did a play, it charged what?
$4.
$4 to get in to see the play. Now it's like $400 to get in to see this play.
And they shrunk the seats.
The seats in this theater were decent. They were really decent. Yeah. Yeah, they just recently redid the theater and they expanded the seating.
What theater was it, Alex?
It's a Schubert.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway.
And in the movie, at the very end, that Boo Radley guy was
Boo Radley,
the guy from The Godfather. What's his name?
Well, Robert Duvall played Boo Radley in the movie. Yeah.
That was like his first movie
role.
That
was his first, right? I think his first movie role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But as I mentioned last night, I'm watching Cleopatra, and who was the first guy to stab Caesar in Cleopatra?
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah,
Carol
O'Connor. Yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to say, "Geez, eat it,"
Stifle it, eat it.
Stifle it, Caesar. But that was the. He was around for quite a while, Carol O'Connor.
Yeah, we think he was an overnight success like that, right? But he was around for
But
years,
I saw a
right?
documentary on the making of Cleopatra and how it took so long and how they kept, stalling things off and how certain actors were on the film for way too long and so on. And I'm thinking about Carol O'Connor, who probably had a nice couple of months, at least a couple of months, if not a couple of years in Italy, where they filmed the thing at Cinecittà Studios. And all those people who, there was Hume Cronin, who was a great actor, said that he never. Wait, what was I saying? Where was I going with
that he had a lot of work in Italy, and
that he was there for like a year in Italy, and by the time the film came out, he's barely in it. They somehow cut his part out. or a lot of his part. And you know, so I mean, there's a whole 2-hour documentary I watched on the making of that film. That's why I went back and watched it.
Where is that, Alex? The documentary?
It's very hard to find. Very hard to find. I could tell you where to find it, but then I'd have to lead you to illegal sources.
Oh boy.
But
if he tells you, he'd have to kill you.
No, but I mean, it talks about all the trials and tribulations this movie went through to get made. Not the least of which was her having to have a tracheotomy. Because
what was the deal with that?
She had pneumonia, and the only way they could save her life was by giving her a tracheotomy because she couldn't breathe.
She almost died about 3 or 4 times. Her back.
And in the film, you can see the scar. You know,
was she heavy then, or was she still beautiful?
Oh no, she was you're gonna hire a woman to play Cleopatra as a fat pig?
No,
come on, Phil.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, she's always had problems with weight.
He's thinking of when she got heavy, and Joan Rivers
at that
point,
she was maybe the most beautiful woman in the world.
Oh yeah,
I mean, she was gorgeous. She was
even when she was heavy, she was gorgeous. Though.
You know, somebody said, what is it? Somebody once said about Marilyn Monroe. Well, if she didn't have all that blonde, if she suddenly went bald, what would she be? And somebody said the sexiest bald woman in the world.
Yeah.
So you know, I mean,
do you think her sexiness was due to how she was portrayed in the movies, or because when you look at movies like Some Like It Hot,
Phil, Marilyn Monroe. I never found Marilyn Monroe sexy. I never found her sexy.
No, but
the only time I found her
sexy.
At the end, she made a film called The Misfits, and I found her very sexy there because she was very vulnerable in that film. I didn't like the blonde bombshell thing. I always found that kind of cheesy. You know.
Yeah, I once stayed at the Hotel Del Coronado for a week, and that's where they filmed a Marilyn Monroe movie. It's been so many years, I don't remember which movie it was. But, but it was interesting.
Let's see.
I like Niagara. That's my favorite.
She was the artichoke queen.
Yeah.
There we go. There we
Down
go.
in Castroville.
Hello, Alan. Are you there?
I am.
But we can't. I don't know where your camera is pointed. But it's certainly strange. There you go. There you go.
Did you ever... I improvised a stand for the camera for the phone.
Oh, I see. But do people here find Marilyn Monroe sexy, or am I wrong?
Oh, I found her sexy.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What period of her life? Because, see, I found her sexy later on when she became a little more vulnerable, a little more natural, you know, a little less of a caricature, you know.
Yeah. Well, I was only 13 when she died, so I mean,
well,
it had to be later in her career.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, Elizabeth Taylor was, you know. So when you're
Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. When she's in that slip, she's like really sexy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Some Like It Hot was the one they did at the Hotel Del, in San Diego or Coronado.
Yeah, but anyway.
When I first met my wife, she dressed up as Marilyn Monroe, and she looked damn close.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So I wouldn't say she's hot.
So. My second wife, Susan.
My bias.
My third wife, Susan. Looked a lot like Elizabeth Taylor. She had that.
Yeah, it was the eyes.
Yeah, she had the Elizabeth Taylor-esque looks to her.
Yeah.
And she put on weight, so you know, whatever. You know. But you know, I mean, these things happen to actresses. You know, there was an actress.
Yeah, they get a little zaftig, right?
Well, there was an actress by the name of Ginger Rogers, who didn't know how to grow old gracefully, and she kept making herself up. What's your problem, Al? You're like got something covering. Yeah.
He's got a Tony filter.
No.
The
That's
phone just keeps moving.
no. It's not the Tony filter effect.
It's the fickle finger.
Yeah.
You got a
I
wallpaper.
think it's the black electrical tape failed.
He doesn't have wallpaper.
Anyway, so Elizabeth Taylor was more my type. Okay.
Yeah.
Was this when she passed away, Marilyn Monroe? Was that had to be like an ultra shock, right? Was that like what happened? Did anybody see it coming or no? Not. Were you surprised when it broke?
Al's adjusting his camera.
That's what I'm doing.
Don't look down at that part of the screen, folks, or you're getting nauseous from all the movement. Or if you're-
Al's a banjo player.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a banjo back there.
I am.
Are you really a banjo player?
Yeah, but I'm pretty bad these days. I don't practice a lot anymore.
We haven't heard.
Ray Renati does the guitar. Now we got
Yeah.
Al can do the banjo.
We haven't heard from all night. Is Josh? He's been very quiet this evening.
But that's Candy Clark, isn't it?
Pretty close, isn't it?
I think that's Candy
That's
Clark.
not Marilyn Monroe.
No,
Pretty close.
Candy Clark was in that
American
movie,
Graffiti.
American Graffiti,
I like that movie.
and she appears with my friend John DiAgostino at these
Oh.
car shows.
That's my wife.
Oh, really? She
That's
looks
your
like Candy
wife?
Is it
Clark.
really? Let's see that
That's what I'm
again,
trying to tell
then.
you. She did the Marilyn Monroe thing with the dimple and all that stuff on it.
Yeah, how long ago was that?
She was in the movie.
95.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Can we make that bigger?
Hot stuff, Kevin.
Okay, now look, this happens to be a fellow member of the Citizen Panel. Let's not jerk off to his wife. That would not be right.
He said X.
Don't do that. I'll come through for you.
Oh,
Oh boy.
man.
That was like a. She used to drive a Miata,
Uh-huh.
and that was a Miata car club, and it was a dress-up thing, and I was a bodyguard, and she was Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
So it was one of those masquerade party things
The Miatas were
that I sucked up to when I first met her.
the Miatas were kind of fun cars, weren't they?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
This is Candy Clark. Isn't there a resemblance?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's close, huh?
This is from American Graffiti. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was a good movie.
She could have pulled that one off.
Yeah.
Well, you know where American Graffiti was filmed?
Was that in
Modesto and San Rafael.
Modesto.
No,
wasn't
never.
Oh,
in
no,
Modesto.
Petaluma.
That's right, Petaluma and San Rafael.
it? Yeah, as a matter of fact, they just had a reunion up there. Terry McGovern was up there, and he was doing a lives thing for what was it, a couple weeks ago, wasn't it, Phil?
I didn't notice.
Because they had all the cars up there, and a bunch of people showed up there, and they had a big parade.
Yeah,
and all
but
that good stuff.
here's the
It
story.
was an anniversary, I think.
Here's the story. They started filming it in San Rafael on 4th Street in San Rafael, and then the city of San Rafael decided we don't want you shooting your movie here, and they quickly had to find a place to do
yeah,
it,
and they ended up Petaluma.
and
yeah.
they wound up in Petaluma, and that's
Why
why
did
to
they
this
take
day, George Lucas hates San Rafael.
Yeah, but he moved to Terra Linda, with his ranch.
He didn't move.
Yeah,
to
but he was
Ter-
way on the
He didn't move to
outskirts.
Terra
That wasn't even
Linda,
San Rafael,
Phil.
really.
Isn't that Terra Linda?
No.
You go out
it's up above Nevada.
No, he
No.
he went out to Lucas Valley Road.
Yeah, it's
Well, Lucas
outside
Valley
Nevada.
Road is
Is not
Linda.
Terra Linda. No,
No.
not that part of Lucas Valley Road. Is
You don't
Terra
go
Linda.
North.
like
No,
you're going to
no.
to Occidental
No.
or something.
Believe me, I know. I've been to Skywalker Ranch on several occasions.
I know they're still looking for the silverware.
Yeah, and it's in the middle of that road and it was Lucas Valley Road, by the way, before Lucas ever moved out there.
Yeah. Because I used to drive up there.
Yeah.
I used to go up there on a motorcycle.
Yeah, but yeah. So that's. But anyway, they had to go to San Rafael to finish it, and I think they only
Because
did.
their main street looks similar to 4th Street.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. It was all shot at night, so you could just use a small town's main drag. And they did do the shots of the drive-in were done in Modesto.
Yeah, that wasn't done in San Francisco at Mel's Drive-In on Van Ness.
No,
it's out in the valley.
That wasn't Mel's.
No,
I thought it was Mel's Drive-In, which was on Van Ness.
There were Mel's Drive-In.
because it even had a sign that said Home of American
there were
Graffiti.
Mel's Drive-ins all over California.
Now there are.
No,
but
there were then. And the one they used was, I believe, in Modesto. If it wasn't, it was Fresno or Stockton.
It was Modesto.
It was Modesto.
So it was just that Mel's Drive-In everyone had a plaque that said Home of American Graffiti?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, they do now.
No.
It never. The one in San Francisco never said Home of American Graffiti, but they had a lot of pictures of American Graffiti in there.
Yeah, they claimed it in all their stores.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but there was more than one Mel's.
Yeah.
The chain.
Yeah.
Boy, fighting with you about this is almost as bad as fighting with you about Trump.
But I don't give a shit about this.
My wife and daughter are going to Capitol Hill tomorrow. Anything you want me to send a message or anything?
Yeah, say hi to Gavin.
Yeah, okay. Anything else?
Where are they going?
They're going to Capitol Hill tomorrow.
For what?
That's their last day on their D.C. trip.
Oh, I see.
That Capitol, not
yeah,
Sacramento.
they've been out there most of the week, going on the the 8th grade D.C. trip.
Oh wow!
Nice. They've been pounding their ass.
Yeah.
7 in the morning till 8, 9, 10 at night.
Wow.
Yeah. They go in to see Congress in action.
They're going to tomorrow, yeah.
Well, that's kind of hard to see.
Well, yeah, they don't go into Congress. I think they're going into the library in Congress. Yeah, there isn't much going on, right?
Yeah. Well, let me
tell them what to do if they see that helicopter.
Yeah. Let me check in with Josh here for a second. Are you there, Josh?
I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
I had a thing for Josh too. I sat in grand jury duty all day today too.
Oh.
Oh boy,
it's a secret.
That was exciting.
Oh.
What kind of case?
It was grand jury.
We'll get around to you eventually, Josh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they didn't Kevin live in California?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So they do 8th grade trips to DCO from all the way out there?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
It costs $2,500 a head, but
do they fly then?
Yeah.
They have to fly, right?
No,
they don't do car washes and stuff like that to pay.
Yeah, they try and do fundraisers and stuff like that, but it costs $2,500 a head. That's why I'm sitting here and they're out there.
That's a pretty big thing, like where I live, but you can drive to DC from where I live in, maybe like 7 hours. I live south of Columbus, Ohio, so I can be on I-70, which will basically take you there in 15 minutes. So I didn't know they did that from all the way out there. Wow.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Big deal. This one, 2 teachers go every year. They've gone like 12 years in a row.
Right.
Wow.
Well, that's interesting.
Good experience for it.
When we went to Gettysburg, sometimes not. I don't know if yours does, but we went in March, and some schools are on break then, and some of them, I think, mostly probably the ones that drive, if that's on their route, they stop there maybe on the way there or the way back.
They were there all day yesterday.
Okay, Gettysburg, yeah, and the guy mentioned that he gets kids from Hawaii every year, and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
How does that work? But okay.
Well, it's a. Let's see here. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. School's still in. Yeah, school's still in session, isn't it?
I don't think so.
They're slowly getting out. There's some that are still getting out. Yeah.
Yeah. So did they do this during the school year? Or
no, she was out on the 8th.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I meant to ask Josh.
Right away.
when you're done talking about this, they had a tornado or something in Ohio a couple of weeks ago, and I was wondering if it affected him at all, or if it was near.
You know, you're terrible this way. I have a helicopter fall on a building that's like 4 miles away, and you go, "Are you safe?" You know.
Well, the
Kevin wrote me.
I didn't ask if you were safe.
Yeah,
I
Kevin.
said, could you see it?
But Kevin wrote me about it. A little closer was my friend Walter Sabo, who sent me an item in the newspaper about some cop beating up another cop 1 block away from me. That's a little closer.
Did you see it?
No.
Oh.
But there was a video.
Yeah, we were actually in the path of that.
Yeah.
The cell that made the tornado. So the sirens went off here, like pretty much all night. It seemed like they were on from like maybe like 11 p.m. to probably like 1 in the morning till it was all over, and it touched down. It was maybe about 10 miles away. So I know some people at work and stuff like that got some damage, and nothing like major, but like I know some people, at work that lost like a tree or, like some of the roof on the side of their barn or whatever, because a lot of them live. It was in a pretty rural area, so but yeah, the sirens went off here, for quite a while, probably a couple hours. So
I'm glad you didn't have any damage.
And then, but there was a pretty big one out in Dayton, which isn't, real far from here. That was the worst one. That was the one that had the fatality and, a lot of damage. The one in around where I live, it did shut one of the freeways down just a couple miles south of my house, though, because it kind of went right through there and it snapped off like, it was amazing. I saw the pictures, like 15 or 20 telephone poles right in a row. I mean, every single one of them was broke, and they, so they were laying across the road. So it took them like 2 days to clean it up. It was a real mess, to be honest with you, because it's the major thoroughfare that everyone takes from the rural area to get to the city, Columbus. So yeah, it was pretty bad.
Well, how bad Phil was about this helicopter was he asked me about it.
Asked if you could see it.
Yeah, if I could see it while I was going to the play, which was 2 days before the helicopter crashed.
Well, you were just preparing. You got there early for a better seat.
I got to tell you, the guy, I have to hand it to the guy. I mean, he chose to crash on top of that building rather than have it crash on the street and kill people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
and he had to pick a building without antennas and all that other shit on top of it.
Yeah, and he had to pick a building. I would have suggested he go over a couple of blocks.
Yeah, the one with the gold on it.
Yeah, the one with the gold on it. It's very easy to see. It's very easy to see, and who's going to miss it?
The reports that I heard said that it was on 7th Avenue, but you said it was on 5th. And
I don't know what reports you heard, but it wasn't anywhere near 7th Avenue.
Well, 5th, 7th, I mean, it's 2 blocks over.
Have you ever?
I did hear they were
Do you
back.
remember how long the avenues are in New York City?
Depends if you're driving or walking.
Well, the space between. Let me see here. How can I put it? It's about 2 times longer than a street in New York City, maybe 2.5 times longer. An avenue. So to go from 7th and then you go over to 6th, and then Broadway is in there too.
In the middle, right?
Yeah, and then there's 6th, and then there's 5th.
And right after 5th is Yorktown.
I'm lazy enough that I would not walk from 7th to 5th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But you make Marjorie do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they're back to wanting to try to maybe ban helicopter traffic again in Manhattan.
He was in a zone that he wasn't supposed to be in. He was in a restricted flight path area or flight area because of Trump Tower.
Yeah. Let me tell you though, this is something you should know. I learned something. You learn something every day, right? And when I was a kid, I studied space, and was very much into space. I mean, I could name all the planets in order and, you know, tell you their relative sizes and so on and so forth. And somehow this eluded me, but I didn't realize that the moon is part of Mars.
Did Trump say that?
You bet your life he did.
Yeah, but at least it's not Uranus.
He wrote a tweet saying we shouldn't go to the moon, we should go to Mars, which is part of the moon.
Well, it's got moons. Right?
That's what this moron said, Phil.
Well, Elon Musk wants to go to the
He
to
doesn't
Mars.
even know it's a satellite. Mars is a planet.
Yep.
No, Sirius is a
And
satellite.
he's gonna build a space army. Woo!
A space force.
Yeah, his Space Force. I want to see that happen.
Pew, pew.
Pew 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 pew.
They got lightsabers.
You know.
Right,
In
Patrick?
fact, every week, what's his
Little
name?
laser
John
gun
Oliver.
hat.
John Oliver on his show, just before he comes on, they run a slide of like something, and it says something. And we always try to figure out every week what it's going to be, like what happened this week that it could be. You know, it's Mother's Day. Could it be a thing to Mother's Day? Whatever.
Is this similar to
Last
the thing
week, it was a picture of Mars with the inscription above it, Luna. Now, can you explain that kind of idiocy on the part of Trump, since you're his official apologist?
I didn't hear that being taken out of context, so I have no idea. I didn't know he said it. That was a guess on my part. Blink Trump.
Mars tweet. Here we go.
You got the tweet.
Here we go. Let's see here.
Kind of hard to take a tweet out of context.
Let's see here.
Not if it's Trump's.
Let's see. Let's see here. Trump's bizarre moon tweet. Here we go. Do they have a picture of it? No, they don't. Oh, here it is. Here's what he wrote. Are you ready, Phil? For all the money we're spending, NASA should not be talking about going to the moon. We did that 50 years ago. They should be focused on the much bigger things we are doing, including Mars, of which the moon is a part.
Well, maybe they're going to use the moon as a jump off to.
It's like a piece of cheese. It broke off. Yeah, that's it.
Including Mars, of which the moon is part.
Yeah, and what did he tweet after that or before?
No, that's the whole thing. He
That's
finished
the
off.
whole
He finished off defense and science exclamation mark.
After that, he said he didn't say it.
Well, he didn't. He tweeted it.
Good point.
How do you excuse that, Phil? That ignorance?
I don't understand the full
I'm
realm of what he
reading
was
you.
talking about.
I'm reading you the full thing, Phil.
I understand, but the thing is,
I am not
when
fake
you
news.
tweet
I'm
things,
not paraphrasing it. I read it to you.
Look, when you tweet things, sometimes they don't get understood the
Well,
way
then
you
maybe
mean it.
you shouldn't fucking tweet, you twat.
Yeah, right.
Well, maybe you shouldn't read it.
Yes, Patrick.
I was just gonna say to Phil, it's a lot like a kid trying to explain something.
Yeah.
That's what his tweets are. And as Alex said, maybe he shouldn't tweet sometimes, because if you're not gonna have a cohesive thought that you can put to paper or, a device, and people cannot understand it for what you mean, don't do it.
Well, I understood it. It's part of Kofefi.
Fifi.
Kofifi, yeah.
Rather than answer the question, Phil, you make a joke.
Of course. What else can you do?
Well,
with something
because
like
you
that?
don't have an answer. Why don't you just say,
I
Trump
didn't
is a
hear the
stupid
tweet
fuck who
originally.
doesn't know science, and he should keep his mouth quiet about it.
Well, I don't know why he was saying what he said, and I'm sure he had a very good reason.
Oh, I'm
he doesn't
sure
know
he
why he's
did.
saying what he said.
Because he thought that was the case.
Oh, well, maybe it is.
He did have a
It's
good reason. It's
insanity.
called sundowning.
You know, he knows where Area 51 is, and he knows all these secrets. You know, who's buried in Grant's tomb. You know, so
Not great.
you know, as long as he's putting out all of this transparency, I wonder if he'll tell us the secrets that only presidents get to know.
Oh,
Or maybe there aren't any.
they're probably not telling him.
Oh boy. Well, all I know is he's a bad example to kids about science. You know.
Well, they shouldn't be reading his tweets.
Yeah.
They're meant for Democrats.
You know, this idea of tweeting is getting rather ridiculous, because to tweet and then deny you ever tweeted what you tweeted.
Yeah.
You know.
It's the Russians. They hijacked this
Take
account.
back a tweet that's already tweeted. They can't do that.
Good answer.
Yeah.
It's the Russians.
Oh no, it's fake news. It's misquoting.
Yeah.
I just misquoted the tweet by reading the tweet.
Yeah. Well, did you read it in the original Russian, or or did you use Google Translation?
All I know is it just says here.
That's why it got screwed up.
Yeah. Exactly.
For all the money we're spending, NASA should not be talking about going to the moon. All the money we're spending, NASA is almost
I think most of it's
underfunded. We've been
private.
hitching rides through the Russians to get there, to get to the space station.
Who is it that's going to put together a ride to the space for $58 million a passenger? Is that Amazon?
I think it's Amazon. Yeah.
I wonder if you get a deal if you got Prime.
Wait a minute. I think it's the United
Get there in 2
States.
days.
Actually, I think it's NASA that's planning on doing that.
No. It's a private thing.
No.
The $58 million.
No.
Yeah.
It was. Who was it? Al, you seem to be nodding.
Yeah, I think somebody paid the Russians to go up to the space.
No, that was
space.
before.
No, this is
that was
something
before.
that's gonna.
This is an
Oh,
offer being
okay.
made, and I think it's being made by NASA. Believe it or not.
Jeff
have
Bezos has a new startup that's
Okay.
going to take space tourism,
Right.
and he's also going to kind of be like a working partner, or not really a partner with, but do some of the things with that SpaceX does too.
So that's
Because
the
like when we went
$58
to
million
Kennedy Space
ticket.
Center, when we went to Kennedy Space Center just last July, so less than a year ago, and you take the tour, they'll show you the new Jeff Bezos' new facility that's right across from the Welcome Center there. It's a huge building, and I can't remember the name of his company.
It's
I don't know.
fulfillment. They do package fulfillment there.
Blue
as well?
something.
I can't remember. And then, they show you the launch pads that they're renting right now, or leasing right now, some of which, had historic flights that went off of them, or missions, I guess you should say. But, and then, they also show you all the SpaceX stuff too. Plus what is going to be the new shuttle missions, which I think the shuttle comes back next year, if I remember.
Really?
2020, I think. They're almost ready to bring that new shuttle out. They show you the new launch pad and the new rover for the new shuttle and all that. So yeah, it's Amazon, not really Amazon, but it's Jeff Bezos.
I think they should take.
$58 million
What?
per passenger. $58
Yeah.
million.
Well,
Yeah.
his ex-wife can afford to go.
Yeah.
I know. I'm
He
not
probably has to pay full fare
One way,
now.
right?
Well, they're
Take
they're offering this up to companies, for instance, who want to go up there and make films, make movies, make commercials, whatever. So when you start factoring that in, it's not as prohibitive.
Well, these things are in 50 years are probably going to be commonplace. Right now we look at it in amazement, but there's going to come a day when this is going to be
I
commonplace.
don't look at it in amazement. I mean, what did NASA become in the end? Just NASA shipping and hauling. is what it
Well,
really
that
became.
was because Obama defunded it.
No, it wasn't because Obama defunded it, you moron.
Well, okay, you asswipe. He stopped giving him money.
Well,
Bush, you started defunding it long before Obama.
you douche enema.
Obama closed NASA down.
What?
Obama was the one that basically shut NASA down. Said we didn't need it.
No,
I thought George Bush did that.
Yeah,
blame
I
Bush.
think you're right, Al.
Yeah.
No, I mean they
Going
figured
down the whole
they
time.
figured they could get the rides to the space station with the Russians,
Yeah.
and that we didn't need it. And I thought it was very stupid, and it wasn't.
There's actually pretty good evidence though that a lot of that money that no longer went to NASA instead went to the DoD, because I know it sounds like a West Wing episode, but the New York Times reported 5, maybe 6 years ago, that the Department of Defense does have a shuttle that can go to space that they claim is unmanned, but the report is unclear whether or not it's an unmanned shuttle or can carry human cargo. But they do say that it could go, for instance, to the space station and rescue astronauts to bring them back, and that the DoD has had this shuttle for the last, they've probably had it now for about 10 years. So about the time they started to, quote, defund NASA, they actually ramped up space flight operations at the Department of Defense. And now that the program has been quasi-declassified because it's been, reported in the New York Times, they even show you on your tour, actually, this building over here now belongs to the Department of Defense. You'll notice the fencing and the armed guards and the et cetera, We really can't tell you what goes on in there. If you would like to read the May 5th, 2009 New York Times, you may get some information, but that's all we can tell you, right now. So that could be what it is.
Yeah.
I think they shut them down because they gave us Tang. Has anybody ever had Tang?
I've used
Yeah, thank you all.
Really?
the astronauts used to drink that.
I, as someone who has always loved the space program, I always was disgusted by the Tang jokes. I really was. Yeah, I think it minimized what NASA was doing and what the space programming was attempting to do, and boiled it down to the fact that this company created Tang so they'd have orange juice in space.
Yeah.
That's orange juice.
It's an orange substitute.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. I mean,
Orange covered
It's a little
colored
sweet.
water with sugar.
Was it?
Kinda
You kind of
like
like Hawaiian punch, really.
It's like telling me that Yoo-hoo is like chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Yogi Berra.
it's a form of chocolate beverage. I mean, I told you I talked to the guy who invented Yoo-hoo, and I was at a luncheon with he and Yogi Berra, who was the spokesman for Yoo-hoo, as you may remember, Tony.
Yeah.
And he said, you can bury this thing in the Sahara Desert for 100 years, and then dig it up, and it will be as fresh as the day you buried it. And I looked at him and I said, "What's in this fucking shit?"
Yeah, exactly.
Put it right next to a Twinkie.
Huh?
Yeah.
To a Twinkie. Yeah.
We just lost. Are you still there, Charlene?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we haven't got your
No
picture.
picture though.
What happened?
All we have,
You have 9. You're doing pretty good tonight.
yeah, but we have 9, but we haven't got a full house.
No, we're getting there.
We're getting there. Yeah,
That's why I called it.
yeah. Well, anyway, hey, listen, I think I'll play the theme here.
That time.
Anyway, well, I made it through the show. I'm still feeling lightheaded tonight. I don't know what
We'll
it
have
is.
some Tang.
All day I was feeling great. Anyway, hey, I want to thank Phil, and I want to thank Charlie, and I want to thank Josh, and I want to thank Charlene, and I want to thank Tony, and I want to thank Kevin, I want to thank Patrick, I want to thank Al, and I want to thank me. Listen, all of you, why don't you give a big wave goodbye, and I will wave back at you, okay? Here we go. There they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's our citizen panel, minus, of course, Charlene. who isn't in the picture. Anyway, that's it for tonight. And let me get rid of everybody here and get rid of Skype so that the next show can use it, okay? And that's it for me. And I will be back again if I can muster it up tomorrow night. Stay tuned now for The Intersection with Jack Bishop. He's next over most of the same GabNet. And then tomorrow night at 9:30, it's Damian Chaplin and The Exchange. And then back here tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, same time, same station, life. In the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.